Hello, good morning and praise God. I hope you're fine. I want to apologize about the Saturday scenario, issues of network. Eventually, I abandoned you, I did not tell you anything, but those were issues of network. Today, we are continuing with population geography, and we shall be looking at migrations, which is yet another population variable, because remember we have been looking at population variables. I know we had not yet covered the whole of mortality, but we shall have it discussed during our interactive session. So, when we talk about migrations or population movements, we simply referring to the movement from place to place of people, which can be seen as a spontaneous human effort to achieve balance between population and resources. Without these movements, the spatial imbalance of such factors as wealth, food consumption, and industrial output would be extreme. In other words, here what we are referring to is that the urge to move is pushed by the need to balance between population and resources. Hence, people usually move from areas of resource deficiency to areas of resource abundance. When you move from wherever, whichever part of the country, now I'm having, and I have students from all over the country. I'm teaching Karua, Kabale. So if you move from wherever part of the country, it's usually one of those. Either there is resource insufficient or any other else. So migration, which refers to the movement of people from one area to another, may be termed as a spatial geography or physical movement involving change of the usual place of residence. This movement is from a clearly defined geographical unit to another, and the movement must be permanent from one residence to another. So, sometimes we wrongfully classify migration because you have moved from Kabale to come and study in Mukono. You think you have migrated. You have not migrated. If you have moved from Kalungu and you came to Mukono, or Yaweri from Masaka, you have not migrated. You are still the villager of Masaka. But when we talk about migration, we are simply referring to where there is usually change of residence permanently. Like if you shift from, we have the Bamasaba from Bududa. If they shift you from Bududa area to the plains of Bulambuli, that is permanent and that is migration. Or if they moved you from Bududa to Kiliandongo, that is migration. Or if we have our friends who are cattle keepers, you move from Kiruhura to Chiboga permanently, that is migration. So migrations can be classified according to motive, according to distance, according to volume of migrants, according to direction of movement. But no single classification is perfect because each type may overlap or interrelate with others. In other words, in certain you can classify that according to motive, but within motive, probably there is also volume, probably there is also direction. So when we classify them according to motive, then the classification is as follows. We have unconscious drifts, we have compulsory movements, we have voluntary movements. In these unconscious drifts, we have guys who are look at guys who move, these cattle pastorists. If you have ever grazed the cattle, at least I know I've ever grazed the cattle when I was still a young boy. The cattle is the one which is leading you, because you take them to the bush and they move. Where they see grass is where they are moving. For you are behind and you keep following. And eventually realize that the person who started out in Mukono, you find yourself you're in Jinja with your cows. But it was not conscious. It was unconscious. We have compulsory movements. Guys who move as a result of war or natural disasters. And then we have voluntary these ones who voluntarily choose to say, I am not going to live in this remote area of Namisindwa or Bulucheke or this remote area of Bufumbira. Let me move and at least go and settle in Mbarara city or in Mbale city. Then we have classification according to distance. Here we are looking at a scenario where migration can take place across all distances from the shortest to worldwide. In other words, there are people who can migrate from the village to the nearest trading center. You migrate, say for example, from, let me give you an example, from these villages I've gotten out of my head. If you're a person who comes from Kisoro, your home is closer to Mugahinga National Park up there, and then you migrate from there and come to the nearest trading center. Or you're a person who lives in those areas of Rashamire, but down there, somewhere down there. But you move from that rural setting of yours near Muntuyera High School, and you come, you don't know this Muntuyera, then you come and settle in Rashamire Town Council. That is migration. It's a short distance. But then there are those who would move all the way from that village down there in Ruahi. Is it Ruahi? Okay, something like that. Where this place where they sell a lot of onions, and all the way to Canada. So migrations can be short distance or long distance. But then we can classify them on the basis of migration on distance as internal, where we have people moving from within the national borders. But then we have international, where people cross the national borders from one country. Internal is within the country. You can move from Soroti to Mbale. You can move from Mbale to Tororo. But with international, we are looking at those ones which cross borders. So you realize that within this classification, we can classify them as rural to rural, i.e. you're migrating from one rural area because you're a witch doctor, and the people have decided to chase you away, which is involuntary migration, forced. So the people come and drum and beat you up and they break down your house. So you migrate from Kalungu to Komansimbi. That is rural to rural migration. But then there is also rural urban. Rural urban because you are fed up of the jiggers in your village. In your village there in Chagwe, my friend Chizimula there migrated from the village to come to Mukono town. So you move away from the rural area to come to town where there is some sense of civilization, with electricity, with movie vibanda. I don't want even to call them movie theaters because they are not theaters anyway. Then we have urban to urban, or what we call interurban. Mbarara Kampala, Mbarara Fort Portal, Chenjojo, Hoima. Urban to urban, Arua Gulu. We have urban rural. These ones are the ones who you hear people always saying that Kampala Gani, the town life has failed. It is too much for you, so you choose to move away and go back to the village. These are the guys you find for you as you're moving from the rural area with your luggage to come to the town. For them, they are carrying saucepans, all the jerry cans, all the mattresses back to the village. Urban rural migration. In the developed world, this one usually happens when people retire. For example, in the US, when people retire, they leave the urban north and they come to the rural south, which is warmer, because they want to come and get to so away from pollution, away from noise, but also places which are warm. Then we have intra-urban, within the same urban area. That, for example, you are living in Kakoba, and you move away from Kakoba and you go to these places, I keep forgetting them. Another division within Mbarara city. Or you are living in industrial area, and Mbale division within Mbale city, and you move to Nakaroke. I hope Nakaroke is within the city. I'm not so sure about your geographical demarcations. Me, I know I'm a geographer. But the political demarcations. So we have those interurban. That question, we shall discuss it during the interactive session. Then when it comes to international migrations, we are looking at the movement of people between countries, which involves far greater distances compared to internal migrations. The people leaving their home country to a foreign one usually have to face a totally different physical and social environment, i.e. culture, languages, climate. You know, some of us, we hear about winter, but we just read about it, we have never experienced it. But when you migrate, right now it's winter season in the northern hemisphere. You go to some of those areas, you must adjust. If you fail to adjust, you die. Adjustments are usually difficult to make, and integration is slower than it's with internal migration. You know, moving from Ruchiga district to go and live in Hoima town or Masint town, you'll adjust because all those are Banyachitara. You can even communicate. Or moving from Soroti to Tororo town, you can communicate. Moving from Koboko to Arua, you can communicate. Moving from Lira to Kitugum, you can communicate. Even from Gulu to Kampala, you can communicate. You can adjust. Same climate, same food, same people, same black people. You are seeing black people. I hope all of you have ever seen Muzungu in reality. You may know. Some if you have never seen Muzungu, you tell me. But you adjust. But then when it comes to crossing, you go to an area where you become a tourist attraction because of your skin color. It's because of your body size. You know, there are certain countries where you go to and you find the ladies are not as well created in terms of morphology as our Ugandan Miss Cavies. So you become also a tourist attraction. And if you are a person who gets irritated so fast, you will fail to integrate in such a society. And you give up. So because of these issues, you realize that we have a higher volume of internal migrations than international. Of course, international migrations also come with certain issues. For example, cost. All of you here, you would wish. Last time, aren't you the ones who were telling me that you wanted to go to Sweden? Someone else wanted to go to Rwanda. Another said he wanted to go to Zaire. But then you ask that person, what is the cost of the visa, of a Canadian visa? I say, I don't know. And you cannot afford it. So you are cut off in such cases. There are those who wish to come to Kampala, but they cannot afford the bus fare of 50,000 from Kisoro to come to Kampala. So, but to help us understand these migration types as well as volume and whatsoever, there are certain scholars who came up with theories explaining migration according to volume, according to distance, and all those dynamics that take place within a migration stream. And these are very crucial because they help us to understand the population movement within the wider political and economic context. If people move across boundaries or borders because of economic problems, then such migrations could be managed with better migration economic agreements. With better economic agreements. If people are going to Qatar to go and find employment, what the government of our grandpa here would be doing would be to create jobs, so that our fresh graduates from university do not get visas at 4 million shillings and it's air ticket to go and work as maids in the Arab world. That's what we are talking about here. That when you understand the motive as to why people are migrating, then you can address it according to what these theories put forward. There are several theories. Of course, the first one is Ravestein's laws of migration, or Ravestein's theory. Ernest Ravestein is called the Ravestein theory of migration. He is regarded as one of the earliest migration theorists, an English geographer who used census data from England and Wales to develop his laws of migration. His theory is put in the form of laws, so sometimes you will come across a description as Ravestein's laws of migration. And these laws, of course, we know. Number one, it says that there is a relationship between migration and distance, i.e., the more the distance from the place of origin, the less the currents or the streams of migration that migrants proceed, because usually migrants proceed a shorter distance. I told you that the volume of migration between Namisindwa or Wakaka and Imbali is higher than the volume of migration between Mbale or between Ruakaka and Kampala. Those ones who move from Ruakaka and stop in Mbale are more than the ones who move from Ruakaka straight all the way to Kampala. Those ones, the migration stream of people who move, you see how many buses depart in Mbarara. Give you the example of Mbarara. Because in Mbarara, a bus leaves every 15 minutes. Global bus. Every 15 minutes it's leaving full to capacity. But how many airplanes are leaving in Entebbe Airport full to capacity per hour? Not many. So that's what we talk about. Because the other one is a longer distance, the currents, what we call migration currents, the currents of migration are less. And that's what Ravestein is saying. The longer the distance, the fewer the migrants. Those who choose to move far distances do so by preference and normally choose great centers of economic development. Those who choose to move to Canada, it's because they have won green cards. Those who choose to move to Rwanda, because they are looking for great opportunity. Not necessarily that you've been affected by war in northern Uganda, and then from there you move Uganda, start settling in South Africa. It's quite rare, except for the few that are privileged. There is also a relationship between migration and migrant by stages. He indicated that there is a universal shifting, replacement of people which produces currents on migrations. The migrants move in stages looking for better places. And what this one means here is that for example, it's quite rare for you look at our beggars here in town. They say they are children of the Karamojong. But someone who is moving from Kotido, it's very rare for that person to move straight away from Kotido to come to Kampala. Actually, someone was explaining that what those children do, they jump onto buses and these cattle trucks. They walk from their villages to the town. And they first spend some time in Kotido town, Moroto town, Nakapilipiliti, Abim, in those areas. Then when they get a chance, they move to Mbale. When they get a chance, they continue to Kampala. That's what Ravestein is talking about here. Migration by stages. That you move from your village in Kalungu, you come to Kampala first, or to Masaka. Then from Masaka, you proceed to Kampala. Then from Kampala, you proceed to London or to another place. That's what Ravestein is talking about here. That there are migration streams and counter migration streams. When you are seated on your bus moving, you have that Bismarck of yours moving from Kawale to come to Kampala, you will find other buses on the way going the other side. You will find Savannah, you will find Perfect, you will find Global, you will find Swifty, you will find Poco, you will find Trinity, you will find Jaguar. All those ones moving the other side. As for you are coming. You are coming this way, migrating from your village. These ones are also moving from the town, going back to the village. So every migration stream produces a counter stream. There is a difference between rural and urban proportion of migrants, i.e., natives of towns are more mobile than those of rural areas. You know very well when you guys finish school and begin working, you'll experience this. That by the time you settle down, you have moved from several residences, from one part of the town to the other. But your father's home, ever since you were born, has been the same place. It has never moved, and nobody has ever migrated from it. There is also dominance of economic reasons in migration, that the primary cause of migration was better economic opportunities. In any area or country, there are bad or oppressive laws. There is a heavy taxation, an attractive climate, slave trade, and all these things. That the greatest motive is usually better economic opportunities. There is a time when Kilembe was still booming. Kilembe mines was still booming, and that Kilembe mines was like the UN of Uganda. All tribes were in Kilembe. You go to Kakira, you'll find there all the tribes, the Rugubala, the Jopadola, the Itesols, the Samias, the Baganda. People were moving from all these parts of the country to come and work because there were economic opportunities there. There were economic opportunities in Jinja. There were economic opportunities in Kasese. There is a relationship between migration and technological advancement. Today, it's quite easy for someone to migrate than it was several years ago. These days you can sleep in Mbale and work in Kampala because of technological advancement. You can leave Mbale at any time of the day and any time of the night. A few years ago, people you would have to book. You book because there would be one bus. The taxis were not there. And then the bus would come and stop in front of your house and say, Mama Rest, have you finished? Say, I am bathing, wait for me. Say let's wait for our friend. They wait for you. And if it left you, if that one bus left you, your journey will be the following day. Like that. But today, technology has advanced. You can. If you live Kampala at the same time, the person who is going to London will reach before the person who is going to Arua. Because when you're going to Arua, you need your 8 hours or 9 hours, depending on, now these days even the road is very bad. Too bad between Karuma and Arua. Too bad. I can't say anything good about it. So you take your 10 hours, whereas the one who is flying from Entebbe Airport to London will be already in London taking tea. Technological advancement. So those are the laws of Ravestein. Apart from Ravestein, of course, the other scholar, the other theorist is Lee. Is called Lee, or what we call Lee's theory of migration. That in 1966, he tried to reformulate Ravestein's theory to give more emphasis to the internal, what he called the push factors. He analyzed the volume and characteristics of migrants and the factors involving the decision to migrate. According to him, there are 4 categories of factors, i.e., the first factor are those associated with the area of origin. The second factor are those associated with the area of destination. The third are the intervening obstacles. The fourth are the personal factors. Of course, those associated with the area of origin are the push, and those associated with the area of destination are the pull. And then we have, of course, the obstacles, issues like transport, issues like marriage, issues like family obituaries, and all those ones come in to intervene. Sometimes there are even real physical barriers which come in to intervene. So according to Lee, in every area there are several factors which are negative and positive. These factors, and that's why, Ravestein just mentioned that for every migration stream, there is a counter migration stream. As for you are running away from the village, there is someone who has seen an opportunity in that village of yours. For you don't want to dig. This one says, if I can go and dig and rear cattle, I will become rich. So for you are running to come and make chapati in town and ride border. The other one is going the other side to Gandhi, cultivate rice. So that's why Liz is saying that in every area there are negatives and positives. The negatives are the ones he classifies as the push, and then the positives are the ones he characterizes as the pull factors. These factors make people to stay in an area or move away from it, or they attract people. The positive ones, they attract people to one area. The negatives make people to move away. Those who repel are the push factors. Those who attract are the positive or pull factors. The zero factors or the neutral factors are the factors that people are indifferent to and affect all the people in the same way. This is not specific to anybody. So they are neutral. You can choose to live with it or to move away from it. Between the two areas stands a set of intervening obstacles which may intervene to prevent migration from taking place. These obstacles include social distance. Distance is quite a problem. You may want to move, but the distance stops you. And the distance here, in geography, we look at distance in terms of the physical distance, but also the economic distance. Economic distance, we are looking at the economic distance from Arua to Kampala is 50,000 by bus. These days, I think others even charge 60. I don't know the economic distance from Mbarara these days. It used to be 20. Economic distance from Kabale, Kisoro, I don't know these days. Economic distance to Mbale, 30,000 by bus, I think, and 25 by taxi. So we have economic distance. But then we have the physical distance. It is 500 kilometers from Kampala to Arua. It is 530 something, 60 something kilometers from 30 something from Kampala to Kotido. It is 400 and something kilometers from Kampala to Kitgum. That is the physical distance. But then we also have socioeconomic factors, for example, lack of capital, illiteracy, religion, family pressures, employment opportunities, travel costs, etc. Sometimes you may want to move, but then there are socioeconomic factors. You don't have capital to pay. For example, sometimes you may want to move, but you're illiterate. Where you're going, what language are you going to use? Sometimes you may want to move, but because of religion, you are this staunch Catholic, but then you are moving into an area which is staunchly Muslim, and you don't want to live with Muslim culture. We have family pressures. The family can put you on pressure and say you are not going anywhere. We have seen people where your family tells you are not going to marry that boy, and if for you want to marry, you come from Muntungamo, you want to marry, if you are Charlotte from Muntungamo, you want to marry Wandera from Busia, that is going to bring about migration. Your family says no. That is family pressure. Employment opportunities. As you're planning to migrate, you get a job. Then we have the physical factors. This could be mountains. My friends from Elgon can attest to this. All those my friends from Kaval and those areas of Ontungam. You know, in those mountains, in that hill terrain, you may be this side, and you see the other person on the other hill, but to move from this hill to the other, you need 3 hours in between. So we have those physical barriers. I used to make fun. It maybe it's not fun. My friends here in Buganda here who enjoy chapatis of the Basoga. If the colonials had not constructed the bridge across the Nile River, you would not be enjoying these sweet chapatis of the Basoga. You know, we have chapatis of the Bachiga, but they are not as sweet and perfectly round like the ones of the Basoga. But once the bridge was created, you know, there are those areas where the bridges are still not there. Like people who live in the island districts, Buvuma, Namayingo, those areas of Siguro Islands. When the ferry breaks down, movement does not take place. Those are physical factors. Political factors, we have roadblocks. You cannot just move from here and you reach Katuna border and you cross. They will bring you back as a dead body. Then we have personal factors which affect the individual's decision to migrate. They may retard or facilitate migration, i.e. a decision made by another person. You want to move, but your wife says that if you move away from here, that you are going to study in Europe, you will not find me. And because you love your wife so much, so you give up on the other opportunity. There's also personal character. There are events in one's life, things like death. You want to move, you're about to migrate, then your father passes away, and they make you the heir. And then your culture says that once you are here, you must inherit the home, so you don't move. Marriage. Some people, you get married. As you plan to move, you fall in love with your village mate, and you get married in your village. There are issues of divorce, there are retirement, victims of injustice, crime makers. All these are factors which were put across by Lee as intervening obstacles which affect someone's decision to either migrate or not to migrate. Migration by volume can be analyzed by Lee. For example, Lee made the following observations as far as migration and the volumes of migrants are concerned. He said that volume within a given area varies with the degree of diversity of that area. Diversity, we are talking about physical diversity. We are talking about physical diversity, where he stated that if migrants from migration results from factors at origin and destination, i.e. there must be diversity at the area of origin and between the area of origin and the area of destination. If I'm migrating from an area of a poor area, you're migrating from Namtumba, and you are going to Wetareja. These are all poor areas. What is attracting, unless if you've seen the other side, there are a lot of swamps you can go and grow rice. So that's the diversity he's talking about here. The volume of migration also varies with the diversity of people. It means that the existence of a group of people which fit within the same objectives, people with same incomes, tradition, or culture. If people are similar in terms of the above, then there will be no migration. There's nobody who wants to disturb himself moving. You don't see here rich people moving from here to go and live, to go to Qatar, because for them they are here. Rich people don't migrate, they settle at once. Unless if their fortunes have increased and they want to move to another area. So it really tells us that if you're in an area where people have same aspirations, they are same level of income, same level of everything, don't expect as much migration as in areas of poverty. The volume of migration is related to the difficulty of overcoming the intervening obstacles. If the difficulty of overcoming intervening obstacles is less, you've seen how guys are overcoming the intervening obstacle of the Mediterranean Sea to cross from North Africa to Southern Europe. Many of them keep dying. You've seen those ones who are becoming the obstacle on Lake Albert to cross from Congo to Uganda. If it's easy and you can say, I can handle sitting on a boat, a fully loaded boat, for 5 hours to cross the Mediterranean Sea, or more than that, for months. Some guys even sit there for a month or more. If it's less difficult, then the volume more. Imagine with that Mediterranean Sea in place, but people can still migrate. People are still migrating. Can you try to draw a picture that what if that sea was not there and it was just a land border? How many people would be crossing? Very many people. Very, very, very many people. That's what Lee is talking about here. Volume of migration varies with volume of fluctuations in the economy. If the economy isn't stable, then you expect the volume of migration to be high. But in developed economies, with rather the migration volume of migration is less because their economies are stable. Unless severe checks are used, both volume and rate of migration tend to increase with time, meaning there is need for laws to reduce on the volume of migration. I thank you.